Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to today's online session. Just going to wait a couple more seconds to let folks get settled in. I'd also like to thank the audience for joining our webinar today. MaxiRISE, Simplify, Modernize, and Rise Faster. We're going to be diving into how you can get the maximum benefit from your journey. And with that, I will kick it off. Hi, my name is Miranda Burke. I'm head of marketing here at S&P North America and your host. Today's 30-minute webcast is being recorded and all registrants will be sent the link to the recording and presentation. Questions can be asked at any time via the chat function on the side of your screen, and we will take Q&A at the end. One thing to note, there's a little toggle button at the bottom right of the screen where you can type in your questions. You can submit your responses as anonymous, or you can feature your name. Furthermore, we have a couple poll questions throughout the webinar, so please engage with us. All right. All right. Before diving into the presentation, I'd like to invite you all to connect with the S&P team on site at our upcoming conferences. S&P has a large presence at both SAP Insider and Sapphire. We're fully equipped to showcase our software solution in action. We have a fantastic lineup of customer speakers at both conferences, and of course, special evening networking events such as Ice Bar in Orlando on May 19th. So in our follow-up email, I'll make sure you have all the invites and links to the information. All right, now it is time to introduce Dr. Steele Arbini. It's an absolute pleasure to have him here with us today. He is our Chief Technology Officer in North America. And with that, I will pass it on to you, Steele.
Well, thank you for that great introduction, Miranda, and welcome everybody. Hopefully, we have a lot of good information and interesting content for you today. So let's get started. The concept of RISE itself can be a bit confusing. There's some conflicting messaging out there. Sometimes it's purposely kept vague. It's been described as an offering, a journey, a contract. So what really is it? Can we pin it down a little bit? This way, when we talk about it today, we understand what we're actually discussing. So it's really how you're going to manage and run your SAP S/4HANA systems in the cloud using managed services from SAP. It's important to remember that it's kind of a stepping stone, right? From the on-prem world to the fully cloud world. What's the step in between? And that's RISE. It's much more like a VPC or private cloud type, it seems like, but it's really in your hyperscaler of choice. And there's many parts to this offering. It's infrastructure, as I said, in your hyperscaler of choice. And by that, I mean computers, memory, disks, network equipment, and so on. That's in your hyperscaler of choice. It's application software and licenses paid in a subscription basis. It's standardization of the landscape and licensing model. There is, the cloud is all about standardization, and so is RISE. The licensing is based on this concept of FUEs, or full user equivalents. And there are different templates of the landscape that you can get, from a 3-system BOM and a 2-system BOM, that standardizes it down for us. It's also a way that you're going to access new SAP products like BTP, Business Technology Platform, the latest announcement of Business Data Cloud, BDC, Business AI, and so on, will all be accessible exclusively through cloud-based offerings like RISE, and not if you stay on-prem. And also, since there's a managed services component to this, there's SLAs and the managed services part, like who's doing what, RACI matrices of who's doing patches, who's doing upgrades, who's creating users, so that it's clear who's doing what in this new managed services world. So as you see, there's a lot of components to it. It's infrastructure, it's software, it's licensing, it's new technology, and it's SLAs and RACIs and things like that, and contracts, right? But it's still a single tenant virtual private cloud, meaning you're not on that HANA box, for example, with multiple other tenants. So that eliminates the noisy neighbor problem, right? Now, SAP does have public cloud offerings like Grow, for example. These are something different, right? These are multi-tenant, meaning multiple systems, customers, end customers on the same physical machine. So therefore, you have a challenge with what customizations you could bring. You don't have that in RISE. Since it's your machine, you can bring your customizations. Now, their goal is to standardize you away from that over time, fine, but you can get those in, at least in the beginning. So that should help demystify a little bit and at least level set the RISE discussion. And so where are we now? And we have some metrics here. Nearly all ECC customers have started this journey. Now, started, could mean a lot of things. It means they're thinking about it, they're evaluating, they're talking about it. Maybe they're doing POCs. Maybe they're looking at paperwork, contracts. But you'll see that only about 20% of them have actually moved and are running production systems there. So it is still got a long way to go. There's still a lot to be done, a lot of work to be done here, because honestly, what we see is that a lot of the simpler landscapes, not heavily customized, not a lot of dependencies, both technical and business, have moved already because it's easy, right? There's not a big disruption. However, the larger enterprises, maybe regulated businesses, maybe a lot of customizations, maybe big data footprints, are the laggards here. They're showing some hesitancy because it's perceived as a very high effort, taking a lot of resources and budget, and maybe not delivering a lot of value right away, right? It's just maybe they're thinking of it as a pure technical lift and shift. And that's what we're really here to discuss today. If you're going to go through the effort of this type of move, fine. But what you want to do is you want to get the maximum benefit from the journey. And that's what we're here to talk about. You want to be able to adopt the most amount of innovation possible, the most streamlining, the most modernization, the most clean core, elimination of unnecessary customizations. Of course, you keep the necessary stuff as part of this journey. What you really don't want to do is get there and then worry about all these problems, because then you just stretch it out and your CFO looks at it and says, well, wait a minute. So we're going to spend all this money and all this time and all this disruption and testing and downtime and everything else to move to RISE, and we get basically what we have right now. So this is not, it's a hard sell to make, right? But if you can talk about some of the benefits you're going to get through innovation, through adopting new technology, simplifying, and so on, you get more out of it on day one. And that's really how to unlock the benefit. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so I touched on some of the holdups, the larger system sizes and so on, but let's dig a little deeper. What are some of the other options that people are seeing and that are then causing some of the background, the pushback? We know there are some standard migration approaches out there. We've all heard of them. Brownfield, right? I'm going to do a technical move, just essentially a copy of ECC running on S4 in RISE. Same data, same broken stuff, same unused customization, same unused data from companies we divested 10 years ago, all of this stuff. It gets you there, definitely. So you check the RISE box, but you get minimal improvement, minimal benefit. And it may not even be possible for a large system. Remember, there are limitations on the size of a in-memory HANA box you can get in the cloud. The largest we're seeing now is this 32 terabyte footprint. Now, you're right, that's big. But there are systems way bigger than that, systems in the 200, 100 plus terabyte range that really have nowhere to land there. Also, you want to leave some growth room so you can't consume all the memory on day one, which leaves you contemplating the scale out architecture of HANA, which runs in the millions, right? Very, very costly, very complex to run, and really, cost prohibitive. So brownfield, it's just not even possible for many systems. And also, just when you come to a value discussion with the CFO, like we said before, it's really not much to hang your hat on there. So you wind up doing this for not much benefit. Well, and what is the outcome, right? You still have your old, unused historical data. Right there, that is going to greatly inhibit your ability to leverage AI and the things in Business Data Cloud and BTP and so on. Why? Remember, you divested this company, let's say 5 years ago, but you're going to train a AI model, machine learning model on that data. So, but that represents the way this company you don't even run anymore operated 5 years in the past. It's not relevant at all today. So what does the model learn? It learns bad behavior. Or even worse, you get a mixture of yesterday's data and today's data, and it kind of tries to average in between that, and you get something that really doesn't work very effectively anywhere, right? It's too wide of an average that it really doesn't give any benefit, any lift out of the model. So this is really not the way to use this new technology. You want to get rid of that. You want to teach the AI from relevant data, run your training from relevant data. And this brownfield approach is what we're going to call today migrate now and transform later, right? Which we're going to get it all to RISE and just be happy we checked the box, but we're going to worry about all these problems later. Well, if you think about what you've done, you've deferred the value and the benefit of S/4HANA for years now, right? And this is not the value story you want to tell. Greenfield is another option, but too much cost, right? In a perfect world, we would tell everybody they should go greenfield. It's the right choice. Start from scratch, start with an empty system, customize everything you need, recreate all your data, and it should take about $1 billion and 10 years. That's, in a perfect world, what everybody should do, but nobody wants to spend $1 billion and 10 years. So we need something in between these two. And that gives you the best of both without all of that cost. And that's what we're going to talk about today. A little bit about what we see. We scan thousands of SAP systems every year. And you see from this little graphic up there, there's thousands of unused customizations, right? 90% unused customizations. Why would you bring that, right? That's just going to slow down your modernization in the future. SAP is predicting an every 5-year modernization cycle, which means either you're just coming out of or just going into the next upgrade. So if every cycle you're paying for this technical debt to test it, to verify it, and so on, to remediate it, again, you're bringing a tremendous amount of cost into this process. Remember, cloud is about standardization, right? So it brings up the concept of clean core. And not just clean, but maybe a better way to look at it is cleaner. How can we get rid of this stuff we don't need? Of course, if we need it. if it's key to a compliance process, key for our most important customers and so on, of course we want to keep it. But if it's 90% unused customizations and data we divested 5 years ago, now's the time. Now is the time, right? It's like moving into a new house. You leave all the junk behind. You just bring the good stuff that you want into the new house. That's what you want to do. It's less TCO, less support, less maintenance. Your M&A in the future becomes faster. Right? You get a more standardized data model. You can build your playbooks for M&A. Faster upgrade. They're coming, going to be very frequently. Quicker adoption of the new innovations. Cloud readiness. All the new functionality, BTP, BDC, analytics, all this now is possible now. You can't use any of that if you're not standard. So there are some common risks that we see out there, people complaining about problems that they see with RISE migration. And then how do we address them in the S&P world, right? Well, migrate now and transform later. We know that defers the benefits. That's a key risk. In S&P, we allow you to collapse multiple projects into one. So you get your data reduction, you get your elimination of the customizations, you get your standardization, you get your new technology adoption right away. And this literally saves millions. And as a benchmark, average projects, we see us saving $3 million by eliminating those redundant projects and getting the benefit of S4 right away. With standard techniques, you're restricted to go live times and what new features you can turn on. All right. So with S&P, you can go live at any time. Pick the data you want, the new features, and bring only what you need. All right. $500,000 or more saved through the flexibility of go live dates and ability to change the scope as needed. Manual migration, very cost and effort consuming, right? It's not standardized and highly error prone. S&P does this all through pre-built content that we've used in over 15,000 projects. And it's an end-to-end process from analysis, scoping, data migration, and verification, all done through software, right? Over 2 million saved in data storage by data reduction, and no need for S/4HANA scale out, right? So we really see a lot of benefits so far. Lack of audit trails, right? Remember, who do you need to keep happy here? It's not your ERP vendor, it's your auditor, right? S&P is certified by the world's leading auditors, so you get an auditable trail of everything you've changed. And you can't even put a value on that one, because if you can't pass audit, you have to redo everything from scratch again. So it's like the whole project value is at risk there. Another risk we see is business critical customizations may not be migrated, all right, because it's not able to be handled by the standard technique. And so you need lengthy testing to make sure it's all there, right? A lot of disruption, taking users off their key job. With S&P, you can move as little or as much historical data and customizations as needed, and also turn on new features in S/4HANA and migrate the data into that. That's the new house, right? We're going to give you a brand new bedroom, lay it out the way you want, and then move in the furniture that you want and leave all the junk behind. And million or more saved in maintenance right there. And finally, a key risk is downtime, right? S&P is the innovator of the near zero downtime migration for SAP. And you can literally have the system up and running in a matter of hours, right? Single digit downtime is possible. Of course, landscape and infrastructure matters, but we get these downtimes down, and that can be $1 million or more savings just in downtime reduction. So a lot of risks out there you see, and these are very common and addressed all through a software-based technique that aligns very closely with the SAP RISE methodology and framework. You see up top here, the arrows represent the SAP methodology, and we plug in underneath that the SNP components that deliver those project phases. And that's where I mentioned before that end-to-end project approach that we offer, from analysis and scoping. We collect over 300,000 business and technical data points in our analysis that allows you to see the data dependencies, see the unused historical data, and decide, make informed decisions on what you should keep and not. That then is used to customize the content that executes the migration. And then we have the verification of that all through software. We also support the monitoring during this process for performance and so on, as well as decommissioning of this source system, meaning we take the whole source system, decommission it in low-cost storage, so you could still look at the data. You can't transact business on it, but you can refer to it for compliance and audit and savings in license, saving in storage, and so on. But you still have read-only access to the data. You get all these benefits that we're talking about, and you don't have to do the migrate now, transform later, and have a 10 project phase program. Phase 1, migrate. Phase 2, get rid of the customizations. Phase 3, reduce the data, right? And with all that downtime, all that testing, you can collapse it all into one with less risk, because it's an end-to-end process. It's verified throughout. And we even perform several trial migrations so that by the time go live happens, you've seen it all several times already. It's a boring go live. All right, we're going to kind of start to wrap up. So a little bit about SNP, headquartered in Heidelberg, Germany, more than 20 countries we do business in. 17 of the largest global SIs use SNP and embed our software in their offering, so that when you're contracting with one of those global SIs, you very well might be using SNP software. 7 out of 10 of them build their own custom branded solution with our software. When you hear of IBM RapidMove, for example, that's SNP built in. And the other SIs as well, Accenture and so on, they all brand the SNP solution with their own logo. We invented the Bluefield terminology and the Bluefield methodology, audited by the world leading auditors, of course, a very deep SAP partnership and certification. We also perform nearly 80% of these selective migrations globally. We are the industry leader in this type of migration. 80% of them are being done with SNP software for the largest customers in the world. The largest systems, the largest customers in the world. 15,000 successful projects completed over 30 years. 1,400 employees, over 3,000 customers. 20 of the DAX 40 use SNP, and most of the Fortune 100 also. And it's all delivered through our software-based solution, right? So you utilize the software through every phase of the life cycle, and that's where you get the acceleration, the automation, leveraging the lessons learned from all those 15,000 projects. We build that back in to the solution so you get that benefit. Now, I know we have left some time for questions, and I see some questions going by. You see a little world map of where we're located, and I'll pivot right now to some of the questions. I'll do my best. Okay, how do we manage near zero downtime? Well, it's a good question. That is a additional offering that we can add on. It may not be needed in every situation, so it's an option. And what we do is essentially, if you're familiar with the concept of change data capture, we split the migration into an uptime portion and a downtime portion. When the uptime is running, you're running your production workload, but we're migrating the bulk of your data. Let's say you have a 10 terabyte system. 9.9 terabytes is migrated in the uptime because that's what's not changing. And we're tracking all those changes during that migration so that now when we go for the downtime event, we're only catching up to what changed in that period that we were running the uptime migration. So again, take 10 terabytes. We migrated 9.9 in the uptime. We only have that 100 gig to migrate in the downtime, do some surface testing and so on, and you can go live. And we run a significant amount of projects using that methodology. Look, there are customers with smaller systems that need to complete it in a weekend. Yeah, no problem. No need for that. But there are other large 100 plus terabyte systems that need this in a matter of hours, and we're able to deliver that. And we have many success stories on this on our website that I would ask you to refer to. Also, please feel free to reach out. Can I give an example of multiple projects that we would collapse into one? Well, I did touch on some of that, but the most common ones, I'll tell you, are number one, some kind of historical data reduction. Could be by time slice, could be by organization, by product. For example, companies we may have divested and so on, and maybe only 5 years of data. Or it could be a combination thereof. Say, we're only bringing 5 years of historical data, but these 5 companies, which we sold 5 years ago, don't bring them at all. And since we don't lose that data, right, we're going to decommission the source so it's still there to refer to, but it never makes it into S/4HANA. We're not paying for that. We don't need scale out and all that other stuff that comes along with that data burden. Also, we don't corrupt our analytics and AI. So data reduction, adoption of new SAP functionality. For example, business partner. Let's convert customer and vendor to SAP business partner. Let's do chart of accounts harmonization or new chart of accounts conversion, like move you into a new chart. Possible during the migration. And, a lot of getting rid of customizations, moving into new modules in SAP like credit management, where EWM, and so on. All of this can now be turned on and have the data loaded into it. So as part of that analysis that we do early, we can get a view of all of this, and these recommendations come out of our software. It includes the most common things that people want to do concurrently with a project into a single go live. That's the benefit. No more downtime, no more testing cycles. It's a single go live. What is the best way for business users to identify good versus bad historical data? Well, I would first recommend to look at our analysis. We do preview the data and the usage, and we even tell you, based on all your organizational elements, when is the last transacted date in that organizational element. So I can tell you, hey, you haven't transacted business in this company or plant for 3 years or 5 years. Well, now we can start talking about this. Of course, this is a decision that has to be made in concert with the business. And in general, they are adverse to removing anything, right? Because they'll say, we don't know what we might need, so we want to keep everything. Okay, we address that through decommissioning. We'll decommission that system so that now you don't feel like you lost anything. It's there for you to refer to. We just don't bring it forward into the new clean house, right? Now, what is a suggested amount of data? Well, of course, we need to discuss that, but a common number that comes up is 5 years, right? There are a lot of customers that consider 5 years, and in some regulated areas, they might push that out, right? Maybe to 10 or 7 or whatever their compliance requirement is there. And it doesn't have to be one size fit all. It's not 5 years or everything. No, we could say, well, in procurement data, we're going to take 5 years. But plant maintenance data, because we need to keep track of a maintenance record of those machines, because if somebody gets injured, we want to be able to show all the historical maintenance that happened, and also use that to train AI models on failure analysis, like when is the machine going to fail next. We want all plant maintenance history. This is fine. You can pick and choose. That's what this approach means. Pick and choose what you want to migrate and what you don't. I think that covers the questions. And right now, I thank you for your time. I will turn it over back to our gracious host. And Miranda, please take us home, as they say.
Steele, great job today. Jam-packed session full of really great information. I can't believe we fit it all into 30 minutes. So again, I'd like to thank the audience for attending. If you have any immediate questions, please don't hesitate in reaching out. Feel free to follow us on our LinkedIn handle for the most up-to-date information on activities here at S&P. And with that, that concludes today's session. Steele, thank you so much for your time today, and the audience for attending and being engaging and interactive out there. So thank you so much, and we will catch you at the next webinar or in person.